1. To be dominant, know yourself. If you wonder how to be dominant as a man, start by knowing yourself. The man who knows himself, he knows who he is. He has a system of values which serves as a foundation that allows him to move in the right direction. He does not deviate from his system of values. Instead, he takes action in order to be tuned with it. Even when he seems to be the only one thinking what he thinks, he copes, because he knows that the way he sees things is fair and just. He is aware of his strength and his weaknesses. That's what allow him to act in the best way possible, regardless of the situation. 2. The dominant man controls his emotion. The alpha male is not that what allow him to act in the best way possible, regardless of the situation. 2. The dominant man controls his emotion. The alpha male is not slave to his emotion. He is able to put things into perspective without letting himself become trapped by his feelings. He stays serene when the storm hits. The dominant man is able to remain calm and peaceful when the storm hits. He is able to remain serene and not panic. He is like a rock. He is considered reliable and dependable. The dominant male doesn't try to be friends with anybody. When you try to appeal to everyone, you quickly become flat and boring. What you need to understand is that since there will always be disagreement between people, if you want to appeal to everybody, you will have to behave in a way that doesn't offend anybody, meaning you will believe in a way that doesn't inspire anyone either. The dominant takes action while remaining in tune with his goals and his system of values that lead him to make some decisions that are not always universally cheered. The dominant man isn't afraid to express his desire, especially with women. When you find a woman sexually attractive, he isn't afraid to tell her. He isn't ashamed to express his desires. Quite the opposite of the weak man, who will do everything he can to hide his interests when he interacts with women like he likes. The dominant man isn't afraid to be quite the opposite of the weak man, who will do everything he can to hide his interests when he interacts with women like he likes. The dominant man isn't afraid. The dominant man controls his body language. The dominant man controls his movement. His body language is related and serene. Just by observing the way he moves his body, sense you can sense that he is solid, he's calm, he's relaxed. He moves his body in a conscious and controlled way. The dominant man, on the other hand, consciously controls his movements. He has the situation in hand. He has control over his body. The dominant has controlled and serene look. His face is relaxed. He's not tension in it. There is no tension in it. Therefore, you can sense he has everything under control. You can feel his confidence and serenity. The dominant man speaks with a calm and relaxed voice. The dominant man can control his voice. His voice is fluid. He speaks in a relaxed and calm way without tension in his voice. His voice is deep. It comes from his belly. The weak guy, on the other hand, speaks with a stressed and jerky voice. He struggles to control his flow and his pitch. He speaks with a weak voice that lacks depth. When the dominant man has something to say, he says it. He talks loud enough to not only be heard by everyone, but also because he believes in what he's saying. He knows his shit. And when he has something to say, he say it. He knows the value of the word. He doesn't speak simply to hear the sound of his voice. He speaks when he has something important to say. He's not all talk. The dominant man has a strong body. His physical condition allow him to properly deal with the rivals and aggressors. His body condition is strong. It allows him to command respect more easily and naturally. The weak guy, on the other hand, has a weak body. His physical condition makes him a target of choice for predators, who would rather attack him than risk missing with a strong and powerful alpha male. The dominant man is protective. The dominant man is protective. The dominant man protects his tribe and his females. That way makes the members of his group know they can rely on him. They know that he's always be there to protect them. This is the opposite of the weak guy, who is unable to protect his relatives and who would rather avoid conflict. That brings us to the next point. The dominant man is combat ready. but he's willing to fight if it's necessary. He doesn't look for trouble, but if he finds himself in a conflict, he will do everything he can to put an end to it and emerge victorious. It is important to be prepared if things go wrong and to be ready to give your all in case of conflict. You need to have a really strong body